Welcome back, everyone, to a new exciting episode of Authentic Conversations, Ask Me Anything Unfiltered Q&A with my teachers, where we uncover the secrets and stories of educators at James Cook University, Singapore. I'm your host, Roby, a student studying Bachelor of Business, majoring in digital marketing. And with me is the ever-curious Kushal. Today, we're joined by two incredible teachers who are ready, I hope, to spill the beans.
Hello everyone. I'm Kushal and I'm pursuing my MBA. My focus is on entrepreneurship.
And before we dive into today's topic, we're happy to let you know that this session will be recorded and available on our Student Marketer LinkedIn page for those who can't join us live.
And a quick reminder, the opinions shared today are based on our personal experiences and just not necessarily reflect the official views of James Cook University, Singapore. And if you have any further questions, please type them in the Q&A chat box and we'll address them during our session at the end. For a more conducive experiences, questions that are not related to the topic will be given to the redirected to the respective department after.
Okay, now that's out of the way. Again, welcome everyone. Today's episode features two special guest speakers who have generously taken the time to join us. We are thrilled to have with us two esteemed lecturers from our university. They're both full-time and part-time faculty members. First up, let's hear from Dr. Kim. Sir, could you please introduce yourself to our listeners and give us a glimpse into the subjects that you teach and what motivates you as an educator here at JCU Singapore?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this Unfiltered Conversations. My name is Kim Lim, and I'm a Singaporean, born and bred in Singapore. So before I began the academic, what I did was that I was actually in the Singapore Public Service, and I started my work in the human resources. So over the slightly more than 10 years, I did human resources in the operations work all the way to policy work. And at the 10th year, I thought that I want to do something different. And I tried teaching. And the first place I thought was actually in Singapore Polytechnic in the Diploma of Human Resources. This is an extension of what I did. And I quite like the environment. I quite like the purpose of it. I quite enjoy the interactions I have with young people. So quite naturally, the idea of say, why not I try in higher education came about. And that is where I did my PhD in Curtin University. And thereafter, it has been a good 5 years since I graduated. And I really thoroughly enjoying myself what I'm doing right now.
How did you find your way to JCU Singapore?
I think it's definitely through the normal recruitment and application processes, but more importantly, as an academic, as a researcher, I also want to teach in areas that I'm good at. It's no point where you apply for a job and you got a job, but that job doesn't fit my skill set. So at the point in time, James Cook University is one of the few organizations in Singapore that offer a vacancy on teaching in human resources. So quite naturally, I will just apply for it. And yeah, I'm here.
We're happy to have you here.
Thank you, Dr. Kim. It's great to have you here. And now let's turn our attention to our second guest, Ms. Ratna Devi. Welcome, ma'am. How about you? Our audience are getting excited to know more about you.
Okay, so I've been here in 10 years in JCU, been a sessional lecturer. Prior to that, I was in internal audit in United Overseas Bank. So I'm also a Singaporean, and I'm married with 3 children. And my 3 kids are basically in Australia now, probably settling down there. And for myself, I have pursued education because after internal audit a couple of years back, I decided to have a switch of career. So things that happen along the way that you may have to make such switches. And teaching seemed to be the best opportunity for me because of my auditing skills and risk management, or those kind of skills that you acquire in the banking section. And so accounting would be the best fit in that sense, like what Dr. Kim is talking about, applying the skills and competences and abilities where you can fit well. So, of course, I've also taught in Curtin, in Kaplan, and informatics. And JCU seems to be the best fit again for me. Colleagues, students, academic support. I think everything blends in very well with JCU. I see it in my students as well. Their satisfaction level is pretty high as well over the years that I've seen. So we're going in the right direction in JCU. Other than that, why do I choose JCU? I think I mentioned that's the main reason. And also mentioned why education is my second career. So yeah, I'm also getting my PhD. So that's
Oh,
another additional a kind of recognition and another achievement. So for me, is for all students is basically pursue your passion.
Okay. So
that's
it's
great.
really evident that both teachers bring a tremendous dedication to their roles at enriching our students' learning experiences. Before we begin, let's salute our teachers for their unwavering commitment to imparting knowledge to all of their students. Thank you both, Dr. Kim, Ms.
Thank
Ratna,
you.
and everybody else in our faculty.
Absolutely, Ruby. So let's jump right in. So, Dr. Kim or Miss Ratna, if you could wield any superpower to enhance your teaching, what it would be and how would you use it to inspire students in James Cook University?
So Dr. Kim, would you like to go first?
I was about to ask you to go first. All right, I'll go first. I think one of the things that I would really hope to have, if there's really such a thing, is the teleporting. I always think that there is so much things we can learn from people. And one of my philosophy of teaching, which I applied largely in class, is applied based. In university, a lot of things that we learn are theoretical and conceptual. That is important because that gives the foundation. But what's more important or more critical is that you are able to apply what you learned in a real working environment. So what is the best way to do that other than doing internships, going to work, is really hearing from people in the industry, hearing from people who has made it or people who has failed and why they fail. So more often than not, I will try to bring students to companies, to talk to industry people, practitioners, CEOs, etc. But we know that sometimes they are so far away,
Yeah.
correct? Sometimes the better ones may not be around anymore, correct? So I think what I could do, if I can do, is to really have this ability to bring students to the different time in history, to meet with the right people, to talk to the right people. I think that will definitely enhance their learning. So right now, what will be your superpower?
Yeah. So for my case, over the years that I've seen students, because we have a lot of international students here at JCU. Okay, I'm going to talk in perspective of JCU student cultural diversity that we have. Yeah, we have a rich diversity here, right? And we notice the students here, a lot of talents they have. They have talents which they are not willing to share. There's a lot of hidden talents. Not only in the educational line, there might be some skills that they're pretty much good in. Some of them could be pretty much good in data, for example, Excel data and using that. Some of them could be very good in their writing skills. Some of them could be very good in their communication skills, as you see in the presentations, right? So for me, my superpower in terms of managing this is very much customized and curated. I do not have a one fit all strategy for anybody. It doesn't work. You have to basically calibrate each of the students' skills and draw that from out of them. It doesn't matter if you're in business or accounting that you must end up in an accounting career. That's not necessarily. I've seen it myself. You switch. You can switch, but along the way, you got to know what your passion is. Like I said in the beginning, what you're passionate, what drives you, and that's where basically the students would get their powers. They themselves will have this power. It's not something that it's born with. Sometimes you nurture it as well. So it's two things: being born with some skills and nurturing that along the way. Just making sure that you're on it all the time. You're thinking about what to do next, what to do next, and we're always bored with doing the same thing, aren't we? In class, we have the same thing doing is very monotonous, right? So try always to expose yourself to different things. And JCU has got lots of activities, lots of clubs, right? And we've got CEO lounges that Dr. Kim is going to do today as well. There's so many different kind of opportunities where students can come there and communicate, negotiate, and they can, collaborate and think of ideas. So this is the way we want JCU students to graduates to actually walk out with that feeling of enrichment and empowerment. That's all.
Yeah, and I think what Rana has mentioned is very true. I think in over here, one of the very key philosophy that we have, we want our students to be employee competitive. We want them to be work ready. In other words, we do not just want to have students who graduated with a set of knowledge but not able to apply. But however, we want our students to graduate and be able to join the workforce and apply what they learned. And I think that this is a very key philosophy and a very key belief in this institution. And that is why, what Ms. Ratna said about knowing your motivation, knowing your passion, what I've mentioned about bringing people to meet the industry is all part and parcel of this overall strategy of making our student to be work ready.
Another thing I would like to add is, if you are joining the alumni, it's a good way for you to come back to JCU after you work a couple of years, come back with that rich experience, share it with the new groups. What you have learned and what drove you. It's really a beautiful journey that JCU would embrace altogether. All right, come back, guys.
Yeah. Sure.
Yes, Kushal? Do you have
No,
anything?
I was just agreeing to both of them. Like, yes, we should become an alumni member and come and share experiences, what we have learned through our journey.
Yes, Kushal's graduating soon, so you're being called to come back very, very soon. Yeah?
Yeah.
I think our teachers here already have a superpower. They don't need to wish for more. I think the strongest one, as we can all see, is passion, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So now let's turn to a different perspective. What type of students do you find the most interesting or challenging to teach? And what would make you say so?
This is a very good question. Ms. Rana?
Okay. Challenging, I would say, is most of them, I wouldn't say most. I would say in some classes, there are quite a number of them challenging in the sense of fear, not able to speak up. And that's probably a culture thing that I would say, because I would see different cultures, some cultural backgrounds, you can see they're very loud, they have no fear, they're not inhibited, they're willing to say anything. And, it's good in that sense. But then there's some groups which are just totally quiet. And I've seen that not only in JCU, but other schools as well. So the problem is trying to get them to, and it doesn't come overnight within a week or 2 weeks, probably take a stretch of time to get them to understand where we're going with our teaching, and you can see slowly that they are understanding this and drawing, and they can draw themselves out, coming out, because they see more and more people talking. And so they don't want to be behind, right? So that's one of the challenges. The other challenge I faced recently is students with learning disabilities. You see, even in our primary schools and secondary schools and colleges, this is not really a very well thought, accepted kind of thing. Like, everybody thinks everybody's normal, but there are lots of kids who are coming out with learning disability, ADHD, dyslexic, right, bipolar. So all these are issues that we have to also note. And I think the government here itself is doing that. JC is also starting to understand all of these issues, because then the assessments will be a bit different. We have to mindset, think that not that they are unable to do it, but they may need more time, or they need a different kind of assessment. So those kind of things, I think, is more challenging for me. Other than that, I don't think otherwise.
So when we talk about challenging, please do not have the perception that challenging means it must be a character flaw. It's not. Challenging can come in many aspects. It can be something internal. Yes, that's a character flaw. I'm shy, I couldn't speak. But challenging can also come in the form of the circumstances that you are in. Let's say if you are an adult learner, you have a family, and the challenges that come may not be just you do not want to learn, but it's because the distraction that you have in your environment that makes it you quite difficult to focus. So I think this is where I always encourage students, regardless of your life stage, to be open, to share a little bit about the challenges that you face with your respective tutor, your respective lecturer, and work together a solution. To me, is that if I'm an educator, I don't just come in to deliver the knowledge and goes out. No, my philosophy at least is that I come in, I want to help everybody to grow. I want to help everybody to be successful in a certain way. I want to have everybody who goes out, a different person. So I always encourage my students to say that, if you have any challenges, speak to me, talk to me, tell me what you are facing. And I may not have a solution to your challenge because some challenges can be quite private, can be quite difficult, but I can do things within my ability to help you to overcome some of the learning difficulties that you face. Say, for example, I have students who come and tell me that, something is happening at home and the student needs to go home to attend some family emergency. And she talked to me and I said, fine. What I did, I managed to extend her submission deadline by a couple of weeks so that that student can submit later and will not be penalized. So I think it is really having that conversation with the person that is going to teach you, whether is it your supervisor, whether is it your lecturer, and see how they can help you to overcome the challenges. So that is where I think challenging to teach is really where students are not able to open up, to share, have that confidence in the person that is teaching you, because they are all professionals. We will not share your challenges. We will not share your situations out, but we will work with you to see how we can overcome.
That's really nice. I think students like myself were very fixated on maintaining a sort of barrier between like our teachers, our lecturers, and ourselves. We want to keep it as professional, maybe. We want to sound smart all the time, say the right thing all the time. As Miss Ratna said, we are sort of living in some kind of fear. So this really shows us that school is also a community more than anything.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I always share with students that university is a protected environment. You are protected. So go and do everything that you want. Of course, do the right things. So don't start burning furniture and tear the building down. But go and try it out different aspect of teaching, of learning. Whether is it joining a club. Miss Ratna said that there's a lot of clubs here. Whether is it to volunteer to be helping out in a community like the student marketeers group. These are the students that spend their time outside of teaching to be here, learning to be here. Whether or not is it to really volunteer yourself for activities to be the ESCO member, like the president or student marketeer is here. So these are the things that will give you a value added perspective when you graduate. And these are the things that you carry. Because seriously, all right, if as a student, if you don't do such a good job in over here at university, what can go wrong? Nobody will die. Likely you just lose a couple of marks. That's about it. But if you were to go out to work and you didn't do a good job, it can cost a lot, even losing your job itself. So just try and have fun in your whatever 3 years, 4 years of studies like in university. Yeah, sorry, I went out of the question.
It's okay. Kushal?
Yes. That's sorry for the interruption. That's great insights from both of you teachers. And the next question I would go to, could you, what would be a new school rule that you would create, and what it would be, and how do you think it will be beneficial for students?
Okay, for me, I go first because I hate rules. Number one, we have enough rules in Singapore as it is. School rules, I think basic rules, every school has it. Another new school rule, if you talk about it, I won't say it's a rule, but I'll say probably or encourage more collaboration. I want students to basically mix more, not only within themselves, with the staff, with the academia, with the lecturers. Why does business has to be separate from psychology? We don't need to have that. Everybody is in their own enclave, right? It's good to mix with every discipline. IT can mix with aqua. Business can mix with psychology. We can all come together and create this kind of environment that is alive, that's thriving, and you know what I mean? So that's the kind of atmosphere that I want to see grow. It's doing good. I'm not saying it's not doing good, but it's doing good. But it's still limited to like just the clubs, just the activities, and webinars or whatever. But we need more. We need more engagement from every different disciplines. You see, that's when it's really thriving. It's alive. And that's what we need to see in JCU. I'm hoping that's the next couple of years.
It is quite interesting that you brought up the point about having more engagement, because earlier on when I just came in, I was having a conversation with them that I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen, what's the next activity for me after this particular one. I find that my memory is going bad. Why? Because you are relying so much on technology. I was just sharing with Miss Rana that in the past you can remember people's mobile number. Now my friend's mobile number is always at my fingertips, even though I never call. But now I can't even know what's my home number. So I think technology has helped us a lot. And if there is a rule that I can sort of change, it's like I think we should go back to the basic. The basic of doing things how people have done in the past without technology, where we get to say hi to people face to face, where we get to say, how are you face to face, where we share our problems face to face and not just through, messaging application or worse, talking to ChatGPT to get a solution. So I think that this is what differentiates us from a lot of things, as a race, as a humanity. This is what it differentiates us. The ability for us to bring out that emotion, the ability for us to express our feelings in a way that other people can empathize. I think that is what makes us to be a very distinct species.
To add to that, how many of us, when we walk into JCU, do we say hi to the security guard? Do we say hi to the cleaners? They're walking along the corridor, they're cleaning the places, they're keeping it spotless. Not many people just passes by them without even acknowledging them. I feel sometimes very sad because my first thing when I come in, I say hi to all of them. Anything, they know what's happening the whole of the school. Everybody won't know what's happening the whole entire school, but they will know. You understand? So this is what I'm saying. This is something that Dr. Kim is talking about. We are so immersed and locked into our technology that we really, and that time is taken away for the good things in life, right? So we need to have this, not only in school. When you get out of school, back home, family is important as well, the communication. Like, in movies, we see everybody's on the phone having their dinner and the phone is going on. Everybody's sitting down and looking at the phone. I mean, that's something that really, really, we're talking about the traditional way when we used to have no phones, no tech, nothing, just family talking. Even you can have arguments, but never mind. At least that is something that is your life. You're having the conversation, right? So those sort of things are the traditional things, as I said, Dr. Kim says, must come back.
Yeah. So in a couple of days' time, in fact, tomorrow, Saturday, I'll be traveling to Vietnam. And I'll be on Monday. And during my trip to Vietnam over the weekend, I'll be giving a presentation on how AI has transformed the tourism industry. So one of the points that I'll be bringing across at that presentation, which relating to what Ms. Ratna mentioned about this humanity and engagement, is that very fortunately or unfortunately, all the AI machines we have now, we still need a person to input some programs. That means we have to input to the robot and says that in this situation, you're going to do this. In this situation, you're going to do that. We're going to input our prompts to ChatGPT to get a response. But can you imagine a day where a machine can actually think for itself and make decisions for you? That will be very frightening. Is it happening? Yes, it's happening. A couple of days back, Elon Musk has launched robots. If you see the YouTube, he launched a robot and an autonomous vehicle, and a robot that can be used to even be at home, to be your servant, to help you to carry things, to help you to do a lot of things, to take care of your pet. That's scary.
Yeah.
So are we going the right direction? I do not know. I don't have a crystal ball in front of me. But what I'm trying to say is that, let us not forget the engagement with another person. Let us not forget to have that sense of humanity, humanism, where we can actually talk, communicate, engage, give a hug, a high five. I think that really makes us very different.
The human-centered approach.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I think it's also very interesting to hear from your generation, if I can
we're
say
like
that.
old. Are we old?
If I can say that. No, because I think you spend a significant part of your life without all these technological advances, you know? Like myself, I started using a phone when I was maybe 5. So I don't quite know what life is like without technology. So
Yeah.
this is really opinions and insights that we really have to consider because you're the ones who were able to see the changes in
Yes.
lifestyles
Yes.
and maybe the different ways that we connect now. So it's really a reminder, even a wake up call for us, maybe younger
Because
generation.
technology teaches you step 1 to step 10. You follow that religiously. When we look at this step 1 to step 10, we know there are shortcuts because of our background. And we don't go through the 1 to 10, we probably go from 1 to 7 to 8 to 9 to 10. This is what I mean. So because of our, as you say, generation gap, we know there are shortcuts to certain things. We don't have to follow. For example, if you take a taxi, the taxi driver will just take you according to what the Google map tells him, right? And then we know there are shortcuts, which could save time for him and save time for me. So usually when I notice the Google map showing a long distance, I'll tell him, I have another route. Would you be able to go that way? It's much faster.
I can't say I
And
can
then
do
he'll
that.
follow and he will tell me this is such a shorter way to get to the place. And I don't know why the Google map is giving me the longer way. You understand?
Yeah.
Well, that's part and
Yeah,
parcel.
try it and tell me. You may wish to come to my generation.
Sorry, guys, to interrupt. I think being in a advanced technology and everything, it's beneficial for both of our generations. It's beneficial for your generation as well to understand and have a great experience to go through this journey. And for our generation, it's easy to understand some things which you might not know how to do or what to do. So having that technological advancement with us, it's a great benefit for us.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, so using technology as a maybe a crutch is
It's a
not so
tool.
good. Yeah.
It's a tool.
Yeah,
So we shouldn't rely too much. And I think we should also lean more on our actual connections. Like
Sometimes
realize-
with gut as well, your gut feeling.
Mm.
Your gut feeling will also pretty strong. Also think about that. Not just the tech alone. Tech is a good tool. Who said ChatGPT is not good? Of course it's good. All tools are good. It's just how you use it.
exactly.
If you use it for the wrong means, there goes.
Mhm. Anything else to add?
Oh no, I'm fine.
Now we move on from maybe the school setting. We'd like to ask our teachers slightly more personal questions. What we're curious about is what hobbies you guys have outside of the classroom. Are there any activities that you enjoy during your spare time?
Dr. Kim, you go first.
I go first.
You go first.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. Hobbies, yes, definitely. But of course now it's not that much because of my family life stage. I got 2 young kids at home, so the hobby will be chasing after them, making sure they study. Yeah, so that's my hobby for now. But of course, I do take photos on and off. I think there are some photos that we have brought here just to share. Oh, this is one of them. Oh, so nice. We should use it in the background instead. All right. So this is a photo that I took in Malaysia in a very nice place called Miri, Miri. Very small place, very small town. There's only 2 shopping
Very
centers
nice.
there. But it's a very nice place. And this is actually the morning sun.
Beautiful sunrise.
Yeah, not the sunset. I think there are 2 more. Oops. Okay. So this is a flower that I took. Oh, should be this one. Yeah, this is a flower that I took in Japan when I was traveling in Japan, and this is in fact the cherry blossom, one of the cherry blossom that
Sakura flowers.
Sakura flowers. That's right. So to catch sakura flowers, you have to go in spring, normally April, May. Japan, Tokyo, Japan and Korea, they'll be quite a bit, they'll be blooming in full at that time. And the last one is, this is in
It's black
Hong
and white.
Kong. Hong Kong,
Very
yes.
nice. Black and white.
Hong
Yeah,
Kong.
very nice.
The idea behind this is to show the concrete jungle, is to show the diversity of corners in a concrete jungle, hence the black and white. So that was the idea and the theme behind when I do these shots. But yes, I love photography, but nowadays not that much because of my family. And I think right now you have something similar as well.
Yeah, actually, we do have similar interests. Actually, photography. I do a lot of bird photography, and so that's the woodpecker that you see.
I'm going to shift.
Yeah, the woodpecker, the crimson woodpecker, and then I also have the moon photography. So I also do that. This is taken from my home on the top of my roof of my house, and then
Roof of your house.
yeah, we can get out of the roof and take a photography. Okay. And this is the parakeets also. So I go to lots of places to take all these. It's a waiting time taking bird photography. It's not easy. You've got to wait for the moment, and these damn things sometimes can be very difficult to take. They fly all over the place, just trying to get the exact spot. And is there any more?
Is there special equipment that you need?
Yeah, so I use a Sony Mark. I use a Sony Mark. I also a Nikon camera. For both of them, I use them. So that's the more professional kind of cameras that you use. I started photography like about 8 years back. And it stumbled upon it actually. And then there were so many people, like you see, when you go out and meet people, people are willing to share that information, teach you. So that's the thing that I learned about, all this. If you just stay at home, you're not going to learn much. But when you go and get out there and do stuff and meet people, they're more than willing to share, teach you, tell you about the different techniques and light compositions and everything. And that's how I kind of picked up on. And so whenever I get my time off, I'll grab my gear, go out there, shoot some shots. Hopefully the weather is good and the light is right. And yeah, so that's how I enjoy myself. Other hobbies I have is cooking. I do a lot of traditional cooking. At the same time, I do a lot of Western cooking. Our whole family does that. My son does wonderful steak. So it's wonderful steak that he does. And I really crave for that. I'm missing him a lot. Other than that, I think a little bit reading, gardening. These are the stuff that I do pretty much. Running, long distance running. I do my running as well. Wow. So I do that 6 kilometers, sometimes to 10 kilometers on good days. Yes, I like that. It's because you get serotonin up. When you do happy things, your serotonin is going up. You should go and read up all these things on serotonin, how you can actually improve your overall health. If you're sad and all that, it's because your serotonin is pretty low. So to get out there and build it up, you have to have good activities, happy environments, do things that you love, passion, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, we have this thing on the internet. It's called a dopamine checklist. So this is your list: photography, cooking, running,
reading a bit, and then gardening, all those hands-on stuff. Very much hands-on.
Kim, what do you say would be your dopamine checklist?
Believe it or not, because we have some live audience here. One of them is our PhD student. My dopamine will be to do research. Really, when I read. Because one of the things about doing research is to find out more about the area that you're interested in. So my research area since my PhD days is on the meaning of work. Why people find work meaningful and why people doesn't find work meaningful, and whether work meaningful or meaningful work is the thing that will keep people engaged in a company. So that's always my area. And it's getting more important, especially after COVID. People are asking, what is my job? Am I finding identity in my job? So I think there is so much new knowledge that's being created every day. So much so that even if I read 3-4 articles a day, it will not be enough just to cover. So reading is something that I always try to find time to do. But I read, of course, other things. So recently, I also started reading a book. It's called The Harvard Business Review Cases, the best cases for the past 100 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so they actually got the 100 years of good articles about that, and it's very, very refreshing to read, especially when I can see how this knowledge are being used in the daily life.
Mhm.
So that's my dopamine.
I think we also have the idea recently of like all your spare time should be absolutely productive. And like this really shows that maybe rest or spare time, free time can look different for everybody, and it's all valid. Whether you're running, reading, or furthering your research like Dr. Kim, it all makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's productive. I think it's value creative.
Mm.
In other words, how much value are you creating in that amount of time? So you can be very productive. Like I can read 10 papers or 5 papers, whatever, in 1 hour. But if I'm not creating the kind of value that I see, I would think that it's a waste of time. So for example, if I'm creating a lot of value, even that 10 minutes of interaction with my children, it is as much as a week worth of interaction. The kind of value that we create in that 10 minutes, it can be done. So I think productive is important, but the ability to create that value is definitely something that is more precious to me when we are all like trying to scramble, that
Yeah.
piece of time.
Yeah.
How much value you create. Like for example, Miss Ratna, right? Her kids are not with you now, they're all overseas.
Oh, they're all grown up.
over the world.
All grown up.
So even for that 10 minutes of conversation she have with her kids, the value that she creates can be as much as maybe a week of physical engagement, that kind of thing. So the value is what that counts. Yeah.
So it's like quality time.
You could say that. Simply put, it could be said as quality time.
Yeah.
You don't need quantity. Most students, I mean, not most, but I think generally students your generation, the Gen Z, the Alpha Gen, they're all into, oh, I need to do gaming. It's to relieve pressure. They game this, and the time just goes off 3-4 hours easily, right? But, for me, it's like, I might as well take that time and walk my dog. I'll take my dog for a walk. That would be the best way. For him, it's good. For me, it's good. You meet someone along the street, you feel happy talking to them. So those kind of things, yeah. So it's like a different perspective, isn't it? I mean, the generations are all different, isn't it? I can't blame anybody like that. But then we bring in perspectives, isn't it? Like Dr. Kim is talking about. We're bringing values, we're bringing quality. There's other ways that maybe as the younger generation mature, they will see that. But this is just that generation gap, that thing that's going on, that they prefer sitting there playing game, watch a couple of hours and things like that. So it's fine, but I think overall they will come to that level.
Okay. All right. Michelle? I think Kushal is muted.
Muted.
Hello, sorry for the interruption. Thank you both, Dr. Kim and Ms. Ratna, for sharing your insightful thoughts and experiences with us today. And there is finally a last question. What's one piece of advice given by you to our students to help what would one piece of advice you would give our students to, help them achieve success in life?
I think we can summarize the answer in maybe like one very impactful sentence.
I would say, if you're really thinking about life, which is long going, it's continuum, right? The beginning stage of success would be in terms of setting goals. It's very important, setting goals and achieving those goals. That's the first thing. And then after that is a continuum. You decide where you're going with this. So that's the first step, I would say, for everybody, no matter what discipline they are. You have to have goals in success. Success doesn't come automatically. It's hard work. It's perseverance, it's patience. These 3 things.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Ratna. Dr. Kim?
Go out to the world. The world is your global stage, all right? Do not just work in one country. You are young. So before I came back to Singapore, I teach in Malaysia, I teach in China, I teach in Australia. And then I came back to Singapore. So go out, go to the different culture, experience the different culture, not as a tourist, but as an ordinary being with the community. But remember to come home. All right. There are a lot of people went out and they forget to come home. Come home, go home and make a difference in your community, in your area of influence. You can't change the world, you can't save the world, but you can change your environment to what you see the best practices outside. So go out. The world is your oasis. Nothing is stopping you from going out.
All right. So we have set your goals and the world is your stage, but remember to come home. Okay. So we've just heard some incredible insights from Dr. Kim and Ms. Ratna. Now it's time to turn the spotlight to our audience, our listeners. This is your chance to ask those burning questions you've always wanted to ask your teachers to get to know them better beyond the classroom.
Totally agree, Ruby. Our audience, whether you're curious about their hobbies, favorite movies, or even their thoughts on the unicorn companies, now is the time to fire away and please don't be shy.
We'll be taking questions from our live audience. Let's kick things off. Who's got the first question? Okay, we have Alan. Thank you, Alan. He said, do you find yourself feeling restricted in your teaching style when having to expand on a learning topic you feel passionate about versus having to conform to certain learning modules or styles that is set by the university or MOE even?
Okay, for teaching, we do have certain guidelines like learning outcomes and subject learning outcomes as well, course outcomes as well. So those are not like fixed. You can still work within those in the way that fits the students. So it's a guideline, like I said. They give us this guideline. We have to understand what the guidelines are, and we can also basically try and fit it to some. Not everybody. Like I said, nothing fits. No size fits all. So that's my answer to Alan.
Dr. Kim?
So you have to, I think to answer this question, let's understand the context a little bit here. Let's talk about autonomous university like NUS, NTU, SMU. So being an autonomous university, basically they operate in one institution within that premises. Now, James Cook is a little bit different. At James Cook, we are a transnational institution. And by that, it means that we have one university, but in 3 different locations, in Brisbane, Cairns, as well as in Singapore. And by that setup, it means that in the module that we are delivering, there need to be some form of consistency. Make sense? It doesn't make sense if I'm attending leadership in Singapore. When I go to Brisbane, it's a totally entire different thing altogether. It doesn't make sense. So there has to be some form of alignment. And this alignment is not to prevent us from being innovative. This alignment is to provide a facility or a pathway for students to even study in different campuses across their curriculum life. That is to say, if I'm a first-year student, I can actually study in Singapore for my first semester. I can study to Australia for my second semester, and I still can learn the same things. So there is definitely some form of alignment that is expected, like what Ms. Rana says, course learning outcome, the unit learning outcome, the assessment, and the content. But how do we deliver is up to us. Say, for example, if I want to deliver leadership in Singapore, for sure, I will mention examples in the Asia Pacific region. For sure, I will get people to come and speak in this region. But if I were delivering in Australia, I will likely focus on Australia. All right. So there is flexibility, but at the same time, there is some form of standardization we need to observe. But that standardization is not to restrict innovation, but to provide a pathway for students to move and learn across campuses. Yeah?
Yes. So like Ms. Ratna said, one size does not fit all. And we just have to make the best of what we have and the guidelines that we have, as long as we're maintaining the standard and the quality.
Of course, that's definitely there. Yeah.
Okay. Let's extend 5 more minutes as there are quite a few more questions. From Mel. For Miss Ratna, how do you balance your PhD studies and teaching?
You have to.
Got no
You have
choice.
to find the way to do that. My teaching hours are there. I also have a family to take care of. I also try to balance with PhD is something that you really, really have to be dedicated, committed. You're not only working alone, you're working with the supervisors as well. So you have the demands that you have to meet up with. Lots of burning nights. I go to bed sometimes with lack of sleep. But then the next day morning is just like trying to get all that done, finish. And when you do get the right, acknowledgements, and you're on the right track, that's a heap of relief because you're going in the right direction. It's a battle. It's an upside battle, honestly. But it's look where I am today. You just have to be patient and do that. Yeah.
She did that. You know that saying? She did that. She slayed.
Oh, I see.
And Miss Ratna will be graduating on this
Saturday.
So after this Saturday, we will call her Dr.
Right now.
Ratna.
Oh.
Yeah, so she'll be Harry Potter.
That's
on
because
this
of the
Saturday.
motorboard.
Yeah, with that hat. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. We have another question from Bobby. Do you ever experience first day jitters?
You, Dr. Kim?
Of course. Of course. I think everybody have that first day jitters, whether are you teaching. Even now I'm feeling jittery. As you can see, my hand is under the table. But it's really about preparing and really planning what will happen. I'm a person who always believe that we plan for the worst,
Yeah.
but we hope for the best.
Yes.
So everything that we do, we have to plan. So even for, let's say, you're traveling, or your choices in career, your choices in education, your choices in even finding a partner, you have to really think through and do your research well and even rehearse if you need to for, let's say, a presentation or the planning. So I think that is the way how I reduce jittery.
Yeah. For me, I think I don't walk into my room as though I'm feeling nervous, but I think I'm conscious more just to see what the mood in the classroom is like. If I ever got nervous is if, let's say, any students should show some disruption, I think that's when I'm thinking how to handle the situation. I probably would have a little bit of jitters at that time, but I calm myself down so that I know how to handle it. There's no point getting nervous. It just adds some problems. So I'll just basically try to calm my nerves and get whatever problem is to solve it or get some help. That's about it.
These are good presentation tips for us students also.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Due to time constraints, we will just be answering the last 2 questions for today. And one of them would be from Barry. What do you think is the most common issue JCUS undergraduate students have, and why do you think it's happening?
Okay, I will take this one. I think most of the students I met in undergraduate, a lot of them do not have the confidence of speaking in class. And it's not because they do not know, it's just that they have challenges in articulating their thoughts in English, because most universities right now, we are English medium. If the lesson or the contents is being taught in their own native language, whether is it Chinese, Malay, Indonesian, Bahasa, they would be able to speak very well. So I think one of the challenge I face is students not able to have that confidence to speak up, which I think Ms. Ratna spoke quite a bit at the beginning. And you just have to step out. Why I think it's happening? Because we are relying so much on mobile phone.
Yeah.
We can speak very well in mobile phone in the country, but when it comes to face-to-face, we just can't articulate.
That's right. Even in my classes, I never done this before in the previous semesters. In this semester, what I do is I do Google Translate. So I've got a lot of Mandarin students, right, who don't understand certain concepts. And it becomes very difficult for me to move on to the next topic because they have not understood the first topic, the first concepts. And I do Google Translate. I do from Chinese to English, also English to Chinese. And that's when a lot of them wake up from their desk. Otherwise, they'd be just sitting on their phone or on their laptop looking at some other things. And the moment I started doing this strategy, and I pronounce it as well, I pronounce the Mandarin as well, and I'll laugh if I did something wrong because I know I probably said a bad word. And then they will correct me and they get me more engaged. So this is pretty interesting. I don't do this very often at all, honestly, but this is something I thought should be pretty good and it's working in the right direction.
Yeah, but if I can add on to what Miss Ratna says, what she did is fantastic, Googling or translating. But I think that as students, we still have to step up and do that part.
Very true.
You can't expect every teacher, every lecturer to do that translating for you. Not all teachers are like Miss Ratna. Some will not do that. So I think as university students, I would really hope that students of this higher education can be the one that's taking the proactive steps.
Very good.
If I do not know, I go and find out. If I'm not sure, I ask. So that is how we learn. Spoon feeding and rote teaching is a starting point.
Yeah.
It's just like I give you a cup of water. I say that this water is good for you. You must drink. But whether do you want to drink this water is up to you. Because some people may choose not to drink. Some people may drink. So there's an English saying, you can bring a horse to the water, but you can't force the horse to drink it. So be proactive, be humble, be open-minded to learn, and you will see that it's not just the language barrier that is stopping you. It's actually the self-confidence that sometimes people have.
Very true.
Yeah, they will overcome.
Very true.
All right.
Yep.
We'll move on to our very last question. Being in academia, do you face the feeling of isolation? Farisa says she's a postgrad student and they deal with research papers and books, which sometimes the family and friends may not be able to relate to.
I'm not sure what she meant by what Farisa is talking about in terms of that we deal with a lot of books, which sometimes the family and friends may not be. Is she looking for somebody in JCU to help her?
Maybe.
If that's the case, there's no reason for her to feel isolated. There's so much of help here. All she needs to do is just reach out to those people that she thinks that have that knowledge. And we have our staff, faculty, all the publications that they have done and what they're researching into. Just reach out to them. They're more than happy to actually help her out.
Maybe.
I hope, Farisa, this explains it. There's no need to feel any isolation here at all,
Yeah. Maybe if I can sort of add on, this is a challenge that many researchers face, to be honest. I know that a couple of years back, Straits Times, our English medium newspaper, ran a very interesting article that is cover half page long. You can go and Google, yeah? And the headline of the article says, Professor, no one is reading what you are writing. And it's very true because when we do research, we often focus on a lot of technical jargons that the industry or even layman doesn't understand. So that is a challenge of a researcher. How can we make our findings accessible to people? How can we make our findings such that even the layman knows what I'm trying to say? Like, for example, I put meaning of work. That's very technical. If I use terms like structural equation modeling, convergent validity, discriminant, nobody will understand what I'm trying to say. But if I were to make it in a very simple layman terms, that is where people were able to relate. So feeling of isolation is when you do not go out and mix with people. I agree. Postgraduate study, a lot of people say can be a very lonely journey because you are doing an individual project for 4 years, individual project. But it's also up to you to go out and mix with people. Do I feel isolated in my PhD? No, I don't. I make so many fantastic friends.
Yeah.
I go to conferences, I talk to people, I say hi to people, I go to industry partners, I meet industry people, and that's where we build the network.
Yeah.
So So Farisa, I do know your what you're trying to say,
Yeah.
but try to engage your family members by sharing a little bit more what you are doing. Maybe you can even show them some live examples of your research. Like let's say you're doing a research on consumer behavior, right? You know, there you see, this is part of my research. Why people choose to willing to spend a little bit more to buy more expensive products, but environmental friendly, then people don't buy that
I've
kind of
also
thing.
seen people post on ResearchGate. You can also go there and put in your doubts or whatever you're talking about, certain thing. Maybe you've done a paper or you're writing a paper and you're not understanding. I know ResearchGate is another best place that actually you can place all these questions there, and people respond, honestly. All right, that's all.
So the key is to put yourself out there, right?
Yeah.
So it's been an extremely fun session. Our biggest thanks to Dr. Kim and soon to be Dr. Ratna for their candid and insightful responses today.
Absolutely, Umi. We have truly gotten to know our teachers on a whole new level. Hearing their unfiltered thoughts and experiences, it's clear that teaching isn't just a job, but it's a passion for them and a commitment to shaping the futures of young minds and young talents in James University.
Yeah, Kushal's right. So, teachers, we salute you for the dedication and inspiration you bring to our lives every day. If we left any of your questions unanswered or you're simply curious about James Cook University, our staff and students are available for you to chat with by going on our website and selecting Chat with our students or scan the QR code here.
Absolutely, Umi. I think the audience would love to do that. So, our listeners, whether you're a prospective student considering James Cook University Singapore or simply curious about the education life in Singapore, we hope today's episode has given you valuable insights into the nurturing environment here, where teachers truly care about your success.
But remember, it doesn't end with academics. What also matters is fostering a supportive community that prepares you for life's challenges and opportunities. As we saw today, your teachers are very much human too. We hope that today inspired you to stay true to your authentic self.
Thank you all for joining us. Until next time.
Keep dreaming.
Keep learning.
And keep making a difference.